Next up, we are joined by Gemma Bromley with her talk, How I Learned to Love My Brain. Gemma is an inspiring advocate and speaker who shares a personal journey with brain injury and recovery, encouraging hope and resilience. And she's joined us at previous Head Injury Information Days, and we're delighted to see her back here today. So please welcome Gemma.
I'm probably going to do a Bridget Jones here. And can everyone hear me? Yeah? Okay. Thank you all for coming. So I had the honour of talking at Head Injury Information Day 4 years ago now to tell my story. So it's very exciting to be back and speaking to you all and sharing how things have gone since then, really. For those of you who don't know me, I am the author of Half Ahead, Self-Memoir and How to Thrive After Brain Injury, my book. I work at Sight Scotland as a rehabilitation specialist in sight loss and currently training to be a rehabilitation specialist at Birmingham City University. So currently I'm rehabilitating people who have sight loss difficulties, and the rehabilitation part is to work with children. I'm also a visiting lecturer at Napier University, Chester University and Greater Manchester Mental Health Partnership, where I deliver talks to students on brain injury. And I'm also a co-trainer of Mark Gray Associates at Sight Loss with brain injury. And I'm a big advocate for brain injury and sensory loss and hidden disabilities. I say all this as I don't want to blow my own trumpet, but I have realised over the years that I don't really give myself that much credit. And I do for other people, but never myself. And the sweetest thing here that I've learned is I need to blow my trumpet a little bit more than I do. And I've learned this from my 10-year-old son, who told me and said, and I will never forget, as I helped him along, as he helped me along with my aphasia, as we read about superheroes. I asked him who was his superhero. And I was thinking it's going to be Ronaldo or Messi or someone like that. And he was like, oh, well, that's easy. And he's like, it's you. And I was like, oh, my goodness, me. Sorry, and this is a typical brain injury thing I've done here. So this is classic. I've not done this on purpose. I've got the wrong bit of writing that I want to read to you. And I need to have this because I have aphasia. I've got the right one now, so please bear with me. Sorry. Typical. Oh, sorry about this. It's just jumped off. Right. Forget it. I'm just going to have to go with it. Oh, no. Sorry about this. I've just completely... Just bear with me. This is like a worst nightmare. Sorry. I'm going to find it. Oh no, I'm sorry. Okay, sorry. Well, this is a good example of what brain injury people go through. I've skipped a little. I'm going to start again. Sorry, just scrap that. You will enjoy this talk, I promise. I had the honour of talking here, as I said, 4 years ago. I've done a lot of things since then. And that's a really big thing, I would say, for someone with a brain injury as severe as mine. And you might all be looking at me and thinking, well, like, she doesn't look like she has a brain injury and she seems okay. And that's my whole point of this talk. I do have aphasia, so if you see me get a little bit stuck on a word, which I probably will, then please do just shout it out, because I'll grab anything going, because my dear friend aphasia does like to come and play when I'm a little bit nervous. It's okay though, because my son told me to just imagine everybody is wearing really, really horrendous underwear, and that will get you through it. So I'm just going to put you on in a combination of different underwear going on there. So here goes. For those of you who don't know me, obviously I'm the author of my book. I've gone through all that. I'm not going to do that again. But my point is that I was saying I don't blow my own trumpet, and I'm always like, I never say to people, I've done this or I've done that, because I don't have that confidence. And I think that's purely because I do have a brain injury. And I really wanted to stand up here today and to be like, do you know what, I do these things. And the sweet thing is that my little boy said to me that I was his little superhero. And he said to me, all the things that I do, that people just take for granted, that do on a day-to-day basis, but I do all of these things and manage my brain injury. So he's telling me that I should blow my own trumpet. So he said, obviously, I was a superhero. Sorry, I've practiced this so many times as well, and I'm balls in it, but. So that was a big thing to hear from my son. When brain injured me struggles to be like all the other moms that don't have a brain injury. So it was really lovely to see. And that is so big to hear when you feel so small, because us brain injured folk, we don't give ourselves near enough credit. And we really should be tooting on our trumpets. And then he listed all the things I do. Like I said, sorry, I'm repeating myself. Anyway, the world doesn't owe me. It doesn't mean that I deserve a leg up, and I'm not going to feel sorry for myself anymore. So sometimes you just need to hear it from a little person with a great big heart. You see, although my brain injury happened 23 years ago, I come across people who say to me, oh, well, that was ages ago, you're fine now. Or I get trolls on my social media page messaging me saying that I shouldn't be giving advice to people with brain injury because I'm fine. It's like as if I should look a certain way. And I cannot tell you how angry it makes me feel when people say that. Because yes, I'm fine, thank you. I don't look any different, thank you. And I have a great job, managed to bring up a great kid, and have great family and friends and husband. So I am very normal. And I'm very grateful for that. Those people are very lucky that I don't wear my brain on the outside, because that would be a little bit disgusting. But if I did, they'd look at me and go, actually, maybe there is something going on. So we are our brains. Our brains are who we are. And when this is damaged, it changes everything. So 23 years on, I'm still learning new strategies to care for my brain all the time. In fact, I would say I do it more so now than I did when I was 17 years old, because I was in denial when I was 17 years old, and I didn't really appreciate the fact that I'd lost that identity. It was all very strange, because you're still growing at 17, and you're finding your identity, and then you suddenly lose it, and then... So it was a really, really hard time. So I've learned something about myself since then. Like, I've realised I don't like crowds anymore. I always avoid music festivals when I'm asked to go to them, and the old me would have jumped at that. And when I say old me, I would say like that 17-year-old me after my accident. I would have just gone for it and been really spontaneous and done it. But now I'm a bit older, actually, I realise I can't really handle crowds very good. I can't really, I'm very sensitive to vibrations. So things like music gigs and things like that, they're really, really difficult, because that's a really big overload for me. So my strategies for managing my brain means that I must be strict on my sleep, practice sleep hygiene. Don't know if any of you have heard that, but if you haven't, then please find me at the end, because it's definitely something worth doing. I need to eat well most of the time, exercise enough but not too much, so I crash, which I often do, and can sometimes end up in hospital. So self-care management and my organisation is really, really important, and I've just learned to say no to people, and that's like, it's probably everyone in this room really struggles to say to say no to people. I'm a really big people pleaser, so that's not something that I like to do. And I need to let go of my busy social life that I thought that I needed to keep up to that person I was before, and even to let go of some friends that just didn't get it. And if I don't do this, I may as well wave goodbye to cognitive functions working the way I had hoped. When I say cognitive difficulties, I'm talking about difficulties with... Should have had this on a piece of paper, shouldn't I? Difficulties with processing speed of conversation, not being able to focus properly, feeling really, really overwhelmed, and all this because of not doing that care management. But that's something I didn't do when I was 17, because I didn't have that put in place. And, I came out of hospital and we didn't really have any support. We were just sort of left. And then I came across Headway, who were absolutely amazing. And then I started to think, but even when I went to Headway, and I'm really ashamed to say that I would look around and think, that's, like, I'm not like this. That's not me. But that's not me being really unkind there. It's just, it's that 7 cycles of grief, and I just wasn't seeing myself as that disabled, but actually, in fact, I really was. And it wasn't until university, and I was there for 3 weeks, I realised I can't handle this. Like, I'm not like everybody else. And then I had to start to accept, but that was like a really, really hard thing to admit for myself. And I think anyone here with a brain injury would be lying if they didn't say that they haven't been through that, where they've just not accepted that. It's a hard thing. So I often find myself in a conversation, so I'm just going to flick, because I've forgotten to flick, sorry about that. There's a bit of my injury when I had my plate put in. Often I find myself in conversations when this happens, I can sometimes be completely lost. So I can be shaking my head along and really intentive and really, really trying to follow and giving lots of good feedback. But really, really importantly for me is making sure that the person that I'm speaking to feels really, really validated and listened to, because it's just so important. And I'm really interested in what they have to say, but sometimes it can I can just get lost. And the minute I get lost, that's it. And then I'm too ashamed to say, actually, sorry, what did you say? Because, I've done it before, and people look at me and like, and what? And again, I do think that's because I look so normal. And that's very difficult. So I think my brain, I see my brain as having these filing cabinets, and sometimes I can't unlock this particular file cabinet, and that's where I get really, really lost, and I can't navigate the way I'd like to. So sometimes, I can talk to a stranger, like I might today. Some of you might come up to me, and with the first 3 seconds, I have probably forgotten your name, but I will try and eyeball you for your name badge. So don't put you off to come and speak to me at the end. But the moral of the story is that information overload is real. We all get it, but someone with brain injury will get it far more intensely than someone who doesn't. And I know it's not a competition, but it's just fact. And I think about all the clients that I work with in my job. So I work with lots of people who have a visual impairment. And I see a lot of people who had a stroke, for example. So not only am I going to see them, but they've had a stroke, so they've got that brain injury, but they've also got the sight loss. So they're having to work even harder than I have to work to get that assessment, and it's really difficult. So I would say that my job has made me really, really empathetic and really understanding, and especially to clients who are really angry and say, well, you don't get it. And I'm like, well, I do get it, actually, because I've been there, and I've lost part of myself that I'm never going to get back. And then that helps them to build that trusting relationship with me. And I always say that we all put on a mask. I'm always wearing my mask. But nobody really knows what's going on behind that mask. So actually, when I'm talking and I get lost in that conversation, my husband said, he sent me a little clip video in a minute I'm going to show you. And he's like, this is you, and this is your brain. And it is this is me in a conversation, but it's not all the time. But sometimes if I've not had the sleep, or if I can't open that filing cabinet in my brain, then my brain can go a little bit like this. So I'm just going to...
Hit it, Joe!
So you get my point, okay? That's my brain, and I'm sure some of you are like, that's my brain too, and I haven't got a brain injury. But that's basically, so I've got this person almost like that. I've got another me behind, and I'm concentrating on this conversation. And then I've got this other me doing all these things and just trying to get everything in place just so I just can follow that information and just be accepted, I guess. So I just want to talk a little bit about long-term memory. For those of you who don't know, our long-term memory is this enormous filing cabinet. I love my filing cabinets in my brain. And it stores this unlimited data, and that's anything from, like, obviously the earliest memories you can remember when you're a child, or, you know, the memories that you have made today. So for me, I might have known something when I was a child, but have no recognition of that. Or sometimes I might be able to remember those things, but I could go somewhere with my husband and 2 years later I'll say, oh, do you remember going, and do you remember doing that walk, and we saw this? And I'll be like, no, I have no recollection of that at all. And like, he's just sort of accepted that is just part and parcel of my brain injury. And even if he explains to me, I just can't remember. But ironically, my mum taught me a song from the theatre show Pirates of Penzance when I was in primary school, believe it or not. I was 8 years old. And the song is called Doctor of Divinity. And it isn't the easiest song, if any of you know it, like, to remember. It's pretty hard for an 8-year-old to remember the words. But to this day, and it must have been like a term thing, maybe I was doing it at school, but to this day, regardless of my brain injury, I can remember every single word, every beat, and I could sing it like I could get up in the theatre. So, but sorry to disappoint, I will not be performing a rendition for you this afternoon. You'll just have to take my word for it. But if you come and talk to me at the end, I might do it for you. So, whoa, I just think my brain is amazing. Why I remember that over all these other memories I've got. I just happen to remember this stupid song, which sometimes comes in my head, and it's very annoying. So it's not that I have an obvious disability, like a loss of leg or a disfigured face. And then people, if I did, wouldn't say, oh, you look fine, because that would be really insensitive. Yet we seem to accept, I feel, a little bit like it's okay to speak to someone, and someone who's had a brain injury like myself, 23 years, and be like, well, you're fine. You know, what you're on about, you're fine. And actually it's like, well, I am, but also I'm really struggling with all these things. So obviously we don't want special treatment, we don't. So on the plus side, having a brain injury has helped me to do my job really well. I had diplopia for 10 months after my accident, so that's double vision, for those of you who don't know, and that was really hard. I rocked a pirate's patch, which I talk about in my book, pretty good, and that really, really corrected my sight, so I was really, really fortunate that happened. And so, like, I had my patch, and because I didn't have part of my, did I say earlier that I had a craniotomy? I think I missed that bit out, but I had a craniotomy after my accident with the car, and I ended up walking kind of like to a rear, like this. And that was because I didn't have part of my skull in, and I felt like really heavy on the one side, even though it would have felt lighter. It just felt very strange for me. So I feel like, again, I can really empathise with the clients I work with, and anyone really. Earlier when I ballsed up there, sorry, I think I forgot to say that my accident, and I talk about it in my book, I didn't want to like repeat if you've heard my talk 4 years ago, but I was I was a passenger in a car accident when I was 17, and a bus was coming at 60 miles per hour, and it's T-boned the car, which spun the car, and I was bent forward apparently, getting a sweet. That's what the forensics have said, and I obviously came out of that part of my safety belt. So then I hit my head on every point of the car. And I talk about that in my book a little bit more in depth, with a couple of witnesses saying that I was thrown around my car like a rag doll. So that's just to kind of understand the impact on my brain and that severe brain injury that I had and still have. So sorry, I forgot to say that because I messed up. Just going down. Talking about invisible disability, I can bet that you've spoken to at least 2 people today, or maybe more by the end of the day. that haven't got a brain injury but have another invisible disability going on. And that can be anything, from dyslexic, aphasia, or mental health. So that old quote of being kind, because we don't know, is really important, but sometimes people can forget and judge really, really quickly. When I was younger, I learned really, really quick not to say on a job application that I had a brain injury. And when I did get a job 4 years later, I didn't do this, and I worked in a shop called Accessories, the really nice jewelry shop. And there was loads of codes to remember, and I used to write them down in a little book. And the cloakroom was upstairs, and if I forgot my book, which I did a lot because my short-term memory is not very good, I would go downstairs and then be doing the shop and then not be able to do the codes because I didn't have my book. And this would really, really infuriate my manager. But I was so scared to say that I had a brain injury because I thought she'd see that I wouldn't be able to do the job. When in actual fact, I could do the job, and I was very good with people. I just couldn't remember to do everything the way she wanted me to. So that wasn't a very nice experience. And from that, getting jobs was really, really hard. And I was like, do I write that I've got a brain injury? Do I not? Because they're going to judge the piece of paper and they're not going to see me in person. When they do, they can see that I am worthy of the job, sort of thing. And it wasn't really until I got into sight loss that they started to accept that actually we want this girl and she can bring a lot. So as we said earlier, I have aphasia. This is basically a communication difficulty. For those of you who don't know, you might do. So this is difficulty with reading and writing and even verbal speaking. It's not a sign of low intelligence, but it is a result of brain injury. And there are different types of aphasia. In my case, I have Broca's aphasia and anomic aphasia. Recovery from aphasia is a really small triumph for people that have it, and I would say that I'm always working on my aphasia day to day. So for me, when we aren't even talking big words here, I'm talking about the link words we use, like a toddler could say, like the word the. I can be in a conversation and then suddenly not be able to say the, and I'll make a joke because I'm good at joking and I really do take the mick out of myself, but it's really frustrating when that that word and it's on tip of your tongue, but you're not able to say it. I can get words mixed up. The most recent I've used is saying to my husband, I really need to decompose, instead of saying, I need to decompress. And he was like, I really hope you don't decompose. And I was like, oh. And then he was like, yeah. So we can all have a laugh, and we had a good laugh about that. So there was another time that I told my brother-in-law, who had a crazy punk hair style at the time. So he had these 3 gelled hair pieces on the top of his head. And I said to him, I really like your testicles. And he was like, what? And I was like, I mean, and then he was like, I think you mean tentacles, so I've got it right. So that was one that stuck with us now. And that was when we were younger as well, so we always have a good laugh about that now. I put words backwards as well, so I'd say something like Sam Fireman instead of Fireman Sam, or I just open my mouth and I cannot articulate the word I would like. So I stick in another word, which doesn't really kind of explain what I want to say, and it's not intelligent as what I would like to have said. But obviously having aphasia doesn't mean that I'm not. Aphasia, which ironically I used to call asphasia, and then proceeded to tell my dyslexic friend Rose it was called that, until our non-dyslexic and non-brain injured friend said, actually, sorry, it's aphasia. And to this day, I've never got that wrong, so my long-term memory has worked for me after all. I just wanted to talk also a little bit about personality before and after brain injury. If you have read my book already, you'd have gathered that I am a very happy-go-lucky, positive person. Sometimes I can probably be a little bit overbearing for some, but those people just aren't my people. I'm proud to say that I am a hugger. Is there any huggers in here? I'm sure there are. We've got lots of huggers. And then there's ones that would run a mile. So all the huggers can find me at the end. But there also be those ones, obviously, that would run a mile and be like, oh, God, no. My brain has taught me to read the room, Gemma. I really do. And at the start, I don't think I've read people's, I can't think of the word, like, I didn't read people very well, and I would just hug them and make people feel a little bit awkward. Because I'd be like, hi, and they'd be like, oh. But now I can read it, and I've learned to do that over time. But that's the thing with brain injury. Your old personality traits can really, really be highlighted, and that's what I've learned. Sometimes, if someone was really, really angry or they got really easily agitated, then perhaps they would become more angry. But with me, I was a very honest person before, but when I had my accident, my dad was like, have you had a truth drug? Because I just tell the truth too much. And people are like, I can't believe you told them that, and I can't believe you've done that. I'm like, oh, I can't not. So that's just me. And I think it does just highlight. And that's because of the prefrontal cortex damage, and that's where your personality sits. And then if that's damaged, then you can have trouble with personality. It's not always positive. And some people find it really hard because, their personality can change. And when I was in hospital, there was a gentleman who came off his motorbike, and his personality really, really changed. He had to have a security guard in his bed. And I remember at the time, Mum and Dad saying it's really, really changed. And he just had a little baby, and his wife said he's just completely not the same person. And I think that's a really hard thing with brain injury as well. Anyway, going back to my hugs, I feel that they've elevated lots of people who are feeling a bit glum, and that's even people who aren't huggers. And really, that's what it's all about. So that's what discovering your own sense of self is all about. People with brain injury, you're adjusting to what you are on the outside to better reflect who you are on the inside. And that's a really bittersweet journey for people with a brain injury. Having a brain injury can really take you to a dark mental state, but you don't have to let this beat you. I talk about mental health and suicide in my book in more depth. I bet you don't know that people with a brain injury are 2 to 4 times more likely to commit suicide than those that don't have a brain injury. So early intervention is really important, but that's often missed because the person that has the brain injury don't think there's a problem until they come out of hospital, and maybe 2 years down the line, they're like, well, actually, this is not good. So that's really important to get early intervention. But you could be 5, 10, 50 years down the line. I've been there and gone away from there and then come back to that point again. And again, I think that's with people who don't have a brain injury, but especially so people with brain injury. And that's even being a positive person that I am. And what is quite amazing from all that back and forth with my depression is that in those turbulent times, I've discovered that the opportunities that this brain injury of mine has sort of found me and given me have been pretty amazing and opened up lots of doors for me. And I have my brain injury to thank for that, which is why I've started to like it more. So when I was younger, I really hated it, really, really hated it. And then only been really, I would say, like the past 5 years where I've started to like having my brain injury and accept it a little bit more because it's part of me. I can't even remember the person before my brain injury now. And it's just like a child who's born congenitively blind. They see the world how they see it and they don't think anything's wrong with that. And for me, like how I see the world is going to be a lot different to all of you. So I couldn't believe it when I got a call from Left Bank Pictures to see if I want to be a character building assistant for a Netflix series called Department Q. Has anybody watched it? Okay, that's good. So I'm going to hopefully you like it. So basically the next thing, they'd read my book or looked into my book. So the next thing, I was signing a contract, so I don't spill the beans, because I talk about in my book that I'm very good at being a spoiler, and I don't mean to. I just get overexcited and then blurt out the end of a film. So I had to do this and be really, really quiet. And then one day, like a year later, we had something on TV, and I was watching it, and I was like, oh, I really recognise this. I've read this before. And then I was like, oh my God, because I didn't know it was called Department Q. I was like, this is it. So that was a really amazing experience. So I had an interview with the British actress and disability activist who is called Melissa Johns. I don't know whether any of you know her. She is best known for playing Sadie in The Inceptor. And that was a pretty amazing opportunity. So this is why I love my brain so much, because without it, I'll probably be a little bit boring. Not many people can say that. I've contributed to a Netflix series, and there'd be people out there that would be able to give even better lived experience than me. And it's just tapping into the right places and not giving up on yourself, because I would say people with brain injuries, you've got an amazing story and you need to share that. And I said, brain injury doesn't have to be the end if you lean into it and make the best of yourself. Honestly, anything is possible, and that sounds a bit cheesy, but it is so true. And I can't tell you enough how much I did that with myself, and I've moved on. And even earlier when I fluffed up, I didn't actually really care, because I was like, well, it doesn't matter. So my advice to you, wherever you are on your journey to loving your brain, is to just keep believing in yourself. So I've leaned into the fact that like attracts like, and it's really important to go with that. And that's found me lots of positive people. I don't spend any time with anyone that makes me feel any less than being a big sun, to be honest. I like coming away from people and I'm like, oh, I just feel like I've just been with the sunshine. And that's really important for me. So if you want to find more about my story, I'm afraid you'll have to read my book. Cheeky sales pitch. But I do have 2 books going, free to the first 2 people that give me a hug at the end, even if you're not a hugger. It's signed as well, just in case I become famous, which I won't. So please come find me at the end. And for the love of God, please, everyone, keep wearing your name badges so that I'm not staring at you and eyeballing you. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Gemma. Just hang fire there a second, Gemma. Gemma? Thank you, Gemma, for that really, really insightful and inspiring talk about your own journey of acceptance after brain injury, and which is a different journey for all of us. We have got time. If you've got a couple of questions, any questions for Gemma? Oh. One down here at the bottom.
Yeah, aphasia. Aphasia.
When that happens, when you're in conversations with friends or family, is it best that the family or friends know that you're not getting a word, or you've said the wrong word, or do you prefer to be corrected?
I do this. My husband always says, do you want me to correct you? Do you want me to give you the word? And I'll be like, no, because I'll get there. So I think it's always better. But sometimes if I can't get it, then he'll say. And I missed out a chunk on that, because he proposed to me on the hardest beach possible in Scotland. And I said, you've just done this just so I can practice saying this. And I think it's called Kamastara. I don't know if I said that right. But I was like, you've done this on purpose. And it's just practice and repetition. So I'd say anyone that has aphasia is just, if you can, and if you're working with them, to try to allow them to get it. Because sometimes as well, it might take a while for them. And I would also say, when you're assessing someone or you're speaking to someone and you've asked them a question and they're just very blank, they are processing it, but they're just not able to communicate it to you. So quickly, people move on and to the next thing, and then they're like, oh, no, I was going to answer the next thing. And then they have to process what you're jumping onto. So it's really, really hard for them. So it's really important. And then you say, are you okay? Do you want me to ask a different question? And then they'll say yes or no. Or that person just might just be struggling to say what they want to say. So
thank you.
Cool.
Well, I'm sure that Gemma would love to answer any other questions or just chat to any of you as the day goes on. I mean, advertising that as well as the free hugs
Yes.
that
that
apparently are freely available to
Yes.
the people of her choice.
Yes.
I'm getting into very deep water, so I'm going to stop there. Okay, so once more, thank you. A massive round of applause, please, for Gemma.
Thank you.